America 2025, a nation grappling with its identity, torn between a yearning for its past and the uncertainties of its future. The gap between rich and poor yawns ever wider, a chasm of inequality fueled by policies that seem to favor the privileged few. The American dream, once a beacon of hope for so many, now feels increasingly out of reach for a growing segment of society. The old wounds of racial injustice have been reopened, festering in the face of divisive rhetoric and policies perceived by many as discriminatory. Trust in institutions has eroded, replaced by a toxic brew of misinformation and partisan animosity. It's a powder keg of discontent, primed for ignition. And then the spark. Two of the most powerful and polarizing figures in recent American history, Donald Trump and Elon Musk, find their fates intertwined in a way that would further inflame these existing tensions and ignite a firestorm of protest across the nation. Donald Trump, the former reality TV star turned president, needs no introduction. His rise to power was nothing short of meteoric, fueled by a blend of charisma, controversy, and a keen understanding of media dynamics. From his early days in the business world to his tenure in the White House, Trump has always been a master of commanding attention. His brand of populist rhetoric, laced with appeals to nationalism and often tinged with xenophobia, had already deeply divided the country during his presidency. The nation saw unprecedented levels of political polarization, with fervent supporters rallying behind his every word, and equally passionate detractors opposing his policies and statements at every turn. Now, out of office but far from out of the spotlight, he remains a potent symbol for both fervent supporters and staunch detractors. His influence continues to shape the political scene as he teases potential future runs for office and maintains a strong presence in the media. Elon Musk, the tech mogul who promised to revolutionize transportation and colonize Mars, has become an equally divisive figure. Known for his ambitious ventures with companies like Tesla and SpaceX, Musk has positioned himself as a visionary, pushing the boundaries of what technology can achieve. His immense wealth and technological influence have earned him both admiration and suspicion, while his often unfiltered pronouncements on social media have sparked controversy and fueled accusations of arrogance and insensitivity. Musk's tweets alone have the power to move markets, and his public statements often generate headlines, for better or worse. These two men, each a lightning rod for controversy in their own right, have forged an alliance that has further polarized American society. Their partnership is a blend of political ambition and technological prowess, creating a dynamic that is both fascinating and unsettling. Trump, with his finger always on the pulse of his base, sees in Musk a powerful ally who can help him regain power. The former president's ability to galvanize his supporters is unmatched, and aligning with Musk adds a layer of technological credibility to his political aspirations. Musk, for his part, seems to relish the access to political influence that Trump offers. The tech billionaire's ventures often intersect with regulatory and political landscapes, and having a direct line to a figure like Trump could prove advantageous for his business interests. This unholy alliance, a fusion of political ambition and tech-fueled ambition, would prove to be a potent catalyst for the unrest to come. As their partnership unfolds, it raises questions about the future of American politics and the role of technology in shaping societal norms. The impact of their combined influence is yet to be fully realized, but one thing is certain: the Trump-Musk alliance is a force to be reckoned with. The immediate trigger for the protests was a seemingly unrelated event unfolding half a world away in South Africa. This event, however, had deep historical roots and complex socio-political implications that resonated globally. The South African government, seeking to address historical land ownership disparities rooted in its apartheid past, proposed a land reform program that included expropriation of land without compensation in certain cases. This proposal was part of a broader effort to rectify the severe inequalities that had been entrenched over decades of institutionalized racial segregation and discrimination. This move, while controversial, was intended to redress the injustices of the past and promote greater equality. The goal was to ensure that the wealth and resources of the nation were more equitably distributed among all its citizens, particularly those who had been historically marginalized and disenfranchised. However, it was seized upon by right-wing groups both in South Africa and abroad, who distorted its intent and falsely claimed it amounted to the genocide of white farmers. These groups used fear-mongering tactics to rally support and spread misinformation, creating a narrative that was far removed from the actual intentions of the land reform policy. Trump, never one to miss an opportunity to exploit racial divisions for political gain, amplified these false narratives. By doing so, he not only misrepresented the situation in South Africa, but also fueled racial tensions within the United States, where issues of race and inequality were already highly charged. He publicly echoed the claims of white genocide in South Africa using inflammatory language that further stoked racial tensions both domestically and internationally. His statements were picked up by various media outlets, spreading the misinformation even further and creating a ripple effect of fear and division. Musk, whose own family history is rooted in South Africa, added fuel to the fire. His comments were particularly impactful given his high profile and the respect he commands in various circles. He too repeated the unfounded claims of discrimination against white South Africans, further legitimizing the dangerous narrative being peddled by Trump and his supporters. This convergence of influential voices not only distorted the reality of the situation in South Africa, but also highlighted the power of misinformation in shaping public perception and policy. The response to Trump and Musk's incendiary rhetoric was swift and furious. The nation, already on edge from a series of contentious political battles, found itself at a boiling point. The rhetoric used by these influential figures was seen as not just inflammatory, but as a direct threat to the values many Americans hold dear. Across America, from bustling metropolises to quiet rural towns, people took to the streets to express their outrage. The diversity of the locations mirrored the diversity of the protesters themselves. Young and old, urban and rural, people of all races and backgrounds united in a common cause. The sheer scale of the protests was unprecedented, with millions participating in what became a nationwide movement. Protests erupted in all 50 states, a groundswell of anger and frustration directed not only at Trump and Musk, but at the systems of power and privilege they represented. The slogans on the signs, the chants echoing through the streets, all pointed to a deep-seated discontent with the status quo. This was not just about two men, it was about a broader struggle for justice and equality. For many, Trump's willingness to exploit racial tensions in a foreign country to further his own political agenda was a bridge too far. His actions were seen as a blatant attempt to divide and conquer, to pit communities against each other for his own gain. This manipulation of racial issues struck a nerve, particularly in a country still grappling with its own history of racial injustice. His words, echoing the darkest chapters of America's own history of racial injustice, were seen as a direct attack on communities of color and a threat to the very fabric of American democracy. The protests became a powerful statement against this rhetoric, a collective cry for a more just and equitable society. The American flag, often a symbol of unity, was now a symbol of the struggle for true democracy. Musk, once hailed as a visionary entrepreneur, now found himself facing the wrath of those who saw him as complicit in Trump's divisive agenda. His public statements and actions were scrutinized, and many felt that he had aligned himself with the forces of division and inequality. The backlash was swift and intense, with protesters calling for accountability and change. His immense wealth and influence, once a source of admiration, were now viewed by many as symbols of an economic system rigged against the working class. The protests highlighted the growing divide between the wealthy elite and the rest of the population, a divide that many felt was exacerbated by Musk's actions. The calls for economic justice were loud and clear, a demand for a fairer and more equitable society. As if things couldn't get any worse, the situation took a turn for the unexpected. It felt like the universe itself was conspiring against us. We were caught off guard, unprepared for the challenges that lay ahead, and yet through it all we had to find a way to persevere. The road was rough, but giving up was not an option. Little did we know this was just the beginning of a much tougher journey. As we delve deeper, we begin to see the cracks within the MAGA movement. Internal disagreements and diverging goals have started to surface. These divisions could potentially reshape the political landscape in unexpected ways. The political landscape is constantly evolving, and the influence of movements like MAGA cannot be understated. From local elections to national policies, the impact is profound. Understanding these dynamics is crucial for anyone interested in the future of politics. So what does the future hold? The path forward is uncertain, but one thing is clear. The political arena will continue to be a battleground of ideas and ideologies. Staying informed and engaged is more important than ever. Your voice matters. In a democracy, every opinion counts and every active role shapes the future. For more inspiring awareness stories like this, please like, share, and subscribe.